Hey, what up, guys? So coming to you this morning, we're going to discuss the what's next on former WBO light heavyweight champion Eleider Alvarez, who returned to action on Saturday, January 18th, as he main evented an ESPN Plus card and took on veteran Michael Seals. Alvarez scored a dominating 7th round knockout win over Seals off of a beautiful overhand right that landed. And really is an early candidate for knockout of the year. That was a fucking great knockout. Go back and watch it if you missed it. But that win, pushes Alvarez forward. He was number 3 in the light heavyweight division coming into that fight. And, he's pretty much going to stay there. But the question now is, what's next for Eleider Alvarez? Well, first up, what I've been hearing is prior to the fight, Bob Arum was talking about making the winner of Joe Smith and Jesse Hart, which was Joe Smith, making a fight with the winner of Alvarez and Seals, which is Eleider Alvarez. So both Joe Smith said he'd be into facing Alvarez next. Alvarez really didn't say much. I think he is into the fight with Smith, but he's probably going to look at other things also. So that being said, let's see what... Alvarez also got put into a 4-way kind of a box-off tournament by the WBO because undefeated former super middleweight champion Gilberto Ramirez, who's the #1 contender for the vacant WBO title right now, he is in promotional issues with Top Rank and Bob Arum to try to get a fight, his next fight for the title. So the guy that's number 2, some unknown Russian fighter, is one of the guys in the mix. Ramirez is in the mix. Then they got I forget the guy's name. I'm drawing a blank. There's another European fighter that's in the mix. And then we're not sure if Joe Smith or Jesse Hart's going to be the other guy. But according to, Joe Smith beating Jesse Hart, we're likely going to see when they redo their rankings, Joe Smith would likely move into that slot. So we've got to see how that all works out. If that's going to be something that Alvarez is into doing, competing in a 4-way box-off, or if he's going to be facing off against Joe Smith like Bob Arum said he's going to go for. But let's run through the top 10 and see what could possibly be next for Eleider Alvarez. We start with number 1, undefeated IBF WBC champion Artur Beterbiev. Well, they're both promoted by ESPN to Top Rank, so it would be an easy fight to make. It looks like Beterbiev could be returning March 28th to make that mandatory defense against Meng Fanlong, so Alvarez wouldn't have to wait too long. And Alvarez is used to taking long periods off in between fights. I don't think he'd have to take too long off because I think Beterbiev is going to handle Fanlong of China in his mandatory defense. But Alvarez might be moving in another direction, but I think this fight is possible. But is it a fight that Beterbiev is going to want? Alvarez is a guy that knocked out Kovalev, but he's not a big name outside of that win over Kovalev. So, and he doesn't bring a world title to the table. So I got a feeling that Beterbiev would be looking at bigger fights. But I wouldn't be surprised if he faced a guy like Alvarez. I think that would also make a lot of sense. It's a fun fight. 2 of the top 3 fighters, so that'd be interesting. Now, next up, Alvarez versus former 3-time WBO light heavyweight champ Sergey Kovalev. I don't see that fight happening next. I don't think Kovalev would completely rule it out, but Alvarez did knock Kovalev out and knocked him out pretty brutally, and he's got a great overhand right. Kovalev's coming off a knockout loss to Canelo. He took punishment in the fight before that with Anthony Yard. I think Kovalev's going to try to take a stay busy opponent next. I don't think he's going to look at Alvarez as the next potential opponent. So I don't see this one, a rubber match between these two. I'm not seeing that next. Next up at number 4 is undefeated WBA champion Dimitri Bivol. Well, if Alvarez wanted a shot at Bivol's title, he could get it. Bivol wants to fight anybody and everybody, and if Alvarez wanted to move over to DAZN for the fight, he could get that fight. But I don't think I don't think Bob Arum's going to let him do that. And I don't think Alvarez wants to go against Bivol. Bivol is just so technically sound. He's a bad matchup for anybody, even if somebody were to beat him. So I think Alvarez should probably stay away from this and go for bigger fights. So I don't see this one. Next would be number 5, the former WBC champion, Alexander Votcik. I like Votcik, but I don't think he's going to go for a fight with Alvarez next. I think it's too high risk for Votcik. Votcik's a good fighter, but Alvarez is also a very good fighter. And Votcik's coming off that loss to Beterbiev where he got knocked out and lost his title. I think he's going to want a simpler opponent in his first fight back. So I don't see him and Alvarez linking up. Now, Alvarez versus number 7, Jean Pascal, the WBA regular champion. I think Pascal could take on Alvarez, but I think Pascal's got more beatable options in front of him to take into PBC instead of moving over to Top Rank and facing some of those guys. He's got rematches, possible rematches with Marcus Brown and Badu Jack that I think are more beatable opponents and likely opponents, and he could probably do better money-wise against those guys. So I don't think he's going to look at Alvarez next. Next at number 7 is former interim champion Marcus Brown. Another one where I think Brown is going to lean more towards a rematch with Jean Pascal or a rematch with Badu Jack. If he were to not get either one of those, which is possible, I think there's an outside chance he could face Alvarez, but Alvarez would have to be into it, and I think it's a bad matchup for Alvarez. I think Alvarez would rather face guys in-house at Top Rank that are more hittable. So I'm going to say I don't think this one happens next. Then number 8 is former 2-division world champion Badu Jack. I would love to see the fight, but I don't think Jack wants... Jack has better options in the PBC with Pascal or Marcus Brown, and he could probably get either of those fights. So, and they're more beatable options for him, better style matchups. So I think yeah, Jack stays away from the fight with Alvarez next. Then Alvarez versus the number 9 fighter, undefeated Gilberto Ramirez. I could see it, but it would probably be for the vacant title, and I don't think Alvarez is going to jump the couple European fighters that are ahead of him in the rankings. So I don't see this fight happening next. It could happen, but I don't see it happening next, especially with Ramirez not being happy with his promotional company, Top Rank, and that's Alvarez's promotional company. Yeah, I don't see them locking horns next. And then finally would be Joe Smith Jr. of the United States. This is supposed to be the front runner to get the Alvarez fight next. Now, whether that's the case or not, that's what Bob Arum wants to do. And I think there's a very good chance that could happen. I think it'd be a good fight, both heavy-handed fighters, and I think that'd be really great. So, yeah, I could definitely see this fight taking place. I would lean earliest would be May, more towards June, but June or July. But yeah, I definitely think these two guys could be on a collision course next. So the most believable one in the top 10 is Joe Smith Jr. Other than that, there's kind of outside possibilities, but yeah, Alvarez coming off a nice win, and he deserves to get right back in the mix, and I hope it's against a top 10 guy next. All right, guys, that's it. That's what's next on former WBO light heavyweight champion Eleider Alvarez. Hope you enjoyed it. True Boxing, been hit with the truth.